The first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains of the Harper family home, painting the walls with a warm glow. But even in this beautiful house, something felt missing. James Harper, a man who'd climbed from nothing to everything, was a name known in every boardroom. He'd built a life of wealth, success, and admiration. To the outside world, he had it all: a sprawling home, a thriving company, and a reputation for making impossible deals happen. But deep inside, there was a quiet ache, a truth he'd buried under years of ambition. If you believe in the magic of small moments, the power of love, and the beauty of second chances, please hit that like button, share this story with someone special, and join us on Moral Echo Tales for stories that touch the heart. James grew up in a cramped apartment, where dreams were bigger than the space he lived in. He watched his parents struggle, promising himself he'd give his family a better life. And he did. His tech company was a household name, his bank account overflowed, and his daughter Sophie grew up surrounded by every comfort money could buy. But somewhere along the way, James lost sight of what really mattered. Sophie was only 9 when her mother passed away after a long illness. James thought he could fill that void with toys, gadgets, and the best schools money could afford. He worked late nights, flew across the country for meetings, and told himself it was all for Sophie. But in truth, he was a stranger in his own home, a father who knew his daughter's favorite color, but not her favorite story. One chilly autumn evening, James returned home earlier than usual. A big contract had fallen through and he was exhausted, his mind heavy with numbers and deadlines. As he stepped into the house, he heard something unfamiliar. Laughter, soft and bright, floating from the living room. Curious, he set his briefcase down and followed the sound. There, in the glow of a small lamp, sat Sophie on the couch, her knees tucked under her, next to their housekeeper, Maria. Maria was in her late 20s, with a warm smile and eyes that carried stories of her own. She was reading a book aloud, her voice rising and falling like a gentle wave. Sophie's face was alive with wonder, her eyes wide as she hung onto every word. James stood in the shadows unnoticed, watching something he hadn't seen in years, his daughter truly happy. Maria closed the book and asked Sophie, "What's one thing you're thankful for today?" Sophie thought for a moment, her small fingers twisting the edge of her sweater. "I'm thankful for you, Maria," she said softly. "You make everything fun. And I wish Daddy could stay home and read with us sometimes." James felt his chest tighten. He'd spent years building a future for Sophie, but he'd missed the present. Maria, who'd only been with the family for a few months, had seen what he hadn't. She didn't just clean the house or cook meals. She brought warmth to Sophie's world. She taught her how to braid her hair, shared stories of her childhood in a small village, and even showed her how to bake cookies from scratch. These were the things Sophie craved, not another new toy or a bigger room. That night, James sat in his office, staring at the city lights beyond his window. His desk was covered with awards, framed articles about his success, but they felt meaningless now. He thought of Sophie's words, her quiet wish for him to be there. He remembered his own childhood, how his mother's bedtime stories had been his safe haven, how his father's laughter had made even the hardest days feel lighter. When had he stopped giving that to Sophie? He thought of Maria, who carried herself with a quiet strength, never asking for praise but giving so much to his daughter. She wasn't just a housekeeper, she was a light in their home, showing Sophie the kind of care James had forgotten to offer. The next day, James made a decision. He canceled an evening meeting and came home while the sun was still up. Sophie was in the backyard with Maria, planting tulip bulbs in the garden. James hesitated, feeling out of place in his suit and tie, but Sophie's face lit up when she saw him. "Daddy, you're home!" she squealed, running to hug him. Maria smiled and handed him a small shovel. "Want to help us plant some flowers?" she asked. James laughed awkwardly, kneeling in the dirt for the first time in years. His hands were clumsy, but Sophie's giggles and Maria's patient instructions made it feel right. For the first time, James felt like he was part of something real. Days turned into weeks, and James started coming home earlier. At first it was hard. He fumbled through bedtime stories, his voice stiff from years of boardroom pitches. But Sophie didn't care. She just wanted him there. Maria taught him the little things, how to make Sophie's favorite hot chocolate, how to listen when she talked about her day, how to laugh at her silly jokes. One evening, as the three of them sat around the kitchen table decorating cookies, Sophie looked at James and said, "This is the best day ever." James felt a lump in his throat. He realized these moments, messy, imperfect, and full of love, were what Sophie would remember, not the deals he closed or the money he earned. By spring, the Harper home was alive with new energy. The garden bloomed with tulips, a reminder of the day James had knelt in the dirt with his daughter. Sophie's laughter filled the house, and James found himself smiling more, his heart lighter than it had been in years. Maria remained a quiet presence, never seeking attention but always there with a kind word or a gentle nudge. She'd become more than a housekeeper. She was family, someone who'd helped mend the gap between a father and his daughter. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Sophie handed James a drawing she'd made. It was the three of them, James, Sophie, and Maria, standing in the garden, holding hands. "This is us," Sophie said, her voice full of pride. James held the drawing close, his eyes misty, knowing he'd found something no amount of money could buy. James learned that success isn't just about what you build. It's about who you build it with. He'd spent years chasing wealth, thinking it would give Sophie everything she needed. But it was the small moments, the stories, the laughter, the time spent together, that gave her a home. Maria's kindness had been the spark, showing James that love is the greatest gift you can give, and in giving it, he found it returned to him tenfold. Life moves fast, and it's easy to lose sight of what matters. But sometimes, a single moment, a child's wish, a kind heart, can remind us to slow down and hold tight to the ones we love. If this story warmed your heart or reminded you to cherish the people in your life, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration. Subscribe to Moral Echo Tales and join our community of storytellers spreading love, kindness, and hope. Let's make the world a little brighter, one story at a time. See you in the next video.